Daz, thank you very much for joining us on the i2i podcast. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, good. Thank you, mate. Excited for the game to start ramping up again in the next few weeks?
Yeah, I mean, we're desperate to get back into it now. The guys are eager. We're kind of close to the finish line as such of getting over this scenario that we've been in. But the lads are absolutely buzzing, ready to get back on the pitch and get going again.
Yeah, how are the lads looking? Are they looking fit?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I mean, obviously from a fitness point of view, we've sent them on runs. We've been doing technical work with them. We've obviously individually, because that's been the situation. So yeah, looking all right in that sense. But I think as you know from games, from match fitness is completely different to just doing one-on-ones and setting them off on runs.
Yeah, 100%. So take us back to the very start of your football career. Then, how old were you when you first got scouted?
When I first got scouted, I was quite a late bloomer, really. Obviously, in current times, lads start as young as 5 and 6. But myself, I was more 10, 11-year-old when I got scouted by Middlesbrough. And then I had a couple of opportunities. Went elsewhere to QPR, Everton, on trial basis. Spent a lot of time in QPR Centre of Excellence. But was really got attached to Middlesbrough at the time, and ended up being there for quite a few years. But again, it was a tough decision when it came to it. Did I take an apprenticeship with a year's professional at a club, obviously, which is my hometown club. But not only that, there was a lot of guys there at the time, a lot of players. And personally, I felt, I would possibly get overlooked.
Did you always know that you were going to be a footballer, or were there kind of other avenues that you could have gone down at that time?
No, I mean, it was something that obviously that I always wanted to do. And, I used to get in trouble at school for keeping a ball on my desk or underneath my desk. I used to dribble through the corridors with the ball and obviously get told off. But I think the teachers knew, it was something that obviously, that I wanted to do and I was desperate to do. But obviously I was also encouraged to get an education or get some qualifications behind me as well, because, as a young lad then, you were just desperate to play football, and, a lot of lads are now. But I think, there's more in-depth look into it now where, some guys have to finish early with injuries or some guys just don't make the grade. But obviously, if you have an educational side behind you, then, it's fantastic.
You mentioned you were quite a late bloomer in terms of when you were scouted. Do you know why that was?
I don't know, to be quite honest. I don't think maybe it's going years back when obviously, I was a youngster, and this was after the black and white tellies. Basically, I don't think it was that there was that many scouts about there then in those days. I think it's more and more now that clubs are trying to get into youngsters at a young age to develop them and bring them through, hopefully to create a better player. But not only that, I think clubs now, from a financial point of view, are thinking, well, if we can get a superstar, at 6, 7, 8-year-old, then obviously they're not having to pay for this guy at 16, 17, 18-year-old.
So fast forward a little bit, you joined York City's youth system back in 1993. How did that come about exactly?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I say, it was a tough decision because I'd been offered something by Middlesbrough. But from my point of view, I felt I would be overlooked. I wanted to play in the first team early. I was eager to get in the first team, and I just felt if I stayed at Middlesbrough, that opportunity probably wouldn't come as soon. I went to York, trained a few times with Ricky Sprazier. Was a great bloke. I went on to obviously manage Sunderland, the assistant manager there. Be connected with Man United. He's obviously involved in Scottish football. With the guys up there. He's a fantastic guy, and he, the way he coached and the way he kind of managed myself and obviously other players. I felt really settled there. So I took the opportunity to drop down. Quite a long way from Middlesbrough to York in division senses. And this is what we try to get over to the guys at i2i. Don't give up. If you don't feel like you're going to make it at a certain level, there's other levels that you can achieve. And not only that, that can springboard you back up to where you want to be. And I think from my point of view, that was my thoughts. I wanted to be in the first team early. I wanted to get a good opportunity, and there was that feel good factor from York as well.
And am I right in saying that you were quite prolific back in the day in that youth system?
I was quite prolific actually. I actually scored 3 against Sunderland, actually on Bootham Crescent. All being at 2 were penalties, but yeah, I was quite prolific. I did score quite a few goals, and I think in those days I was more of an attacking player and used more as an attacking player than obviously I was later on in my career.
Yeah, so you eventually got on to make your first team debut about 18 months later. What was that like, and can you remember it well still?
Yeah, I can remember it. We were at home. It was a Boxing Day. I came on. We won the game comfortably. But this is where I was getting at with Ricky Sprazier. I finished the game. Obviously, having been in the first team. Still being a youth player as such. And I came off the pitch. I got in the dressing room, and all the guys get in the shower and go in the bath after the game and stuff. And I was getting stripped, and Ricky Sprazier came in, and one of my duties was to clean the away dressing room that week. So he made me put my kit back on, and he made me go down and clean the away dressing room before I even got a shower or a bath. So at one point I was in the first team and I was in and around it all, and then within a split second I was down in the away dressing room cleaning the dressing room. But for me, it kept me grounded. It gave me that sense of, I haven't made it yet. I'm not there yet. But yes, you're in the first team, but you don't forget the roots and you don't forget where you've come from, type of thing, or your responsibilities. And I thank Ricky for that, because I think he helped massively in having an influence over my career.
Yeah, that's the times have certainly changed, haven't they, in terms of cleaning boots and cleaning away change.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, scrubbing corridors and stuff, that don't happen now.
No scrubbing at all, is there? The following season, you quickly became a regular starter in that York side. How old were you at this point?
I was gone 18, 19. And like I say, I was regularly playing. I was coming up to a new contract, and unfortunately, we couldn't agree terms, as York kind of offered me the same as other guys that had not maybe done as much as I did in that season. And I just felt, I've never been one for wanting and demanding great sums of money. It's not how I am. I was happy with playing it, professional football. I was happy, with earning decent money. And I never really pushed for big contracts, throughout my career. But I just felt at York I'd done more, and I just felt, hopefully they would see that, and obviously would credit me, with a bit more. Unfortunately, they wouldn't. They offered me an extra £20 a week, which really, in all terms, I went away, thought about it. I didn't really, just throw it back in their face, etc. Because again, I'm not that type of person. But the more and more I thought about it, the more I thought, I've taken the opportunity to drop down from Middlesbrough to York to get early first team appearances and stuff. I've achieved that. I'm going to go with my gut instinct again, and I just said to the club, thank you, but no thanks. And unfortunately, the manager fell out with me, and the chairman fell out with me at the time. But thankfully enough, my gut instinct was, the fact that I did move on.
So what were you like as an 18-year-old then? Were you quite you knew what you wanted exactly? Were you quite driven in terms of the goals that you set for yourself?
Yeah, pretty much. I worked my stocks off. If you ask any guys that were in and around, obviously York at that time, or in the youth team with me, I'd run to training in the morning, rather than get on the minibus. I'd run back after training. I'd go and open the gym up on a night, and go and work in the gym, and we'd go and play head tennis and stuff. this is all stuff that we do, with the guys at i2i. The head tennis, because it works on your touch, it works on your range of passing, and and your control, etc. And there's a lot of things that we do, that I did as a youngster, that we still do now, and we still bring into the training sessions that we deliver at i2i, because I feel that not only myself, Jonathan Green and etc. These guys did all this type of stuff, and we got where we wanted to. And I'm not saying it will always get you where you want to, but if you're driven and you work hard and you concentrate on the stuff that we deliver, and we try and get you guys to put on for us, then you've got a fighting chance. And hopefully the guys see that, and and work as hard as obviously we did when we were young.
Yeah, you mentioned you used to run to training there. I can't see many of your lads running to Coach Lane.
No, not really. I can't see that. I mean, to be fair, it was a canny run, to be quite honest. From Bootham Crescent to the old training ground, which is I think it's just past Taxby Road where the old training ground used to be. And it is a fair trek, but it was something that I just wanted to do, and I kept myself at a very, very high fitness level. So if any opportunities did come along, I knew my fitness was there. And working on my first touch, working on my control, working on my passing, on a daily basis, and keep myself in that that physical condition that I was ready to go if anybody came along.
Daz, I've got to ask you about that game at Old Trafford against Manchester United in 1995. Just how did you manage to win there 3-0?
I still scratch my head to this day, because it was just a blur at times. You look. I mean, it was a fantastic game, and I think we probably approached it in the right manner. The manager, he didn't put no pressure on us. We worked on things throughout the week, but you're playing against Man United. I don't think it matters what you work on. You can work on different formations, different situations. But I think it was just, we went into the game relaxed and in a mindset of go and enjoy it. You're gonna grace a pitch at Old Trafford. You're gonna be out there, against some of the top players, in the country. Go and enjoy it, and let's see what happens. And we knew that we were a hard working team. We got in teams' faces. We worked hard. We kept a high level of fitness. So we could continue that through the 90 minutes. And I think, in all fairness, we shocked Man United in our approach to the game. I think they were maybe expecting that we would respect them more on the pitch than what we did, but we didn't. We respected them off the pitch, but as soon as you cross that white line, like I say to our guys at i2i, the gold team, the red team, when I was down in York, with the white team, you have respect for teams, that you come up against. We'll play showcase games. We'll get showcase games for the guys against Liverpool. Wolves. We've been all over the country. Playing different TNS, who were, first teams in the Champions League. But I always say to the guys, respect the team. But once you cross that white line, there's no respect anymore. You're out there to win a game and out there to compete. So give it your all and enjoy it. Your careers can be short-lived. So enjoy it.
Yeah, Sir Alex Ferguson put out the likes of David Beckham, Phil Neville, Ryan Giggs, Lee Sharp, just to name a few there. Just try and put into context just how big of an upset this actually was.
I mean, it was massive. Let's be honest. I mean, we were lowly York in the lower football tier. Man United, the Champions League, Premier League champions. It was such a like I say, it's mind blowing what you think of coming away from Old Trafford with 3 goals in the bag, ready for the second leg. But we knew obviously the second leg would be a really tough game, and there was always a chance that we could lose, and go out the competition. But I think the biggest thing for us, and that helped us and spurred us on, was the fact that we walked off Old Trafford to a standing ovation. And for us, that's immense. Not only that, I think we gained a lot of respect from the guys on the pitch that day. Your Beckhams, your Giggs, your Paul Parkers, the list's endless. But the return leg, we always knew that there'd be a couple of new faces in there. So it was going to be even harder for us to get a result. But fortunately enough, things turned out well for us.
Didn't you almost get on the score sheet at Old Trafford as well?
I did, to be quite honest, and I was actually put up front for the last 10, 15 minutes.
What happened there?
Well, we obviously we had a guy dismissed, and then basically, obviously, it was kind of like stick a lone striker up there. But because I was kind of the fittest in the club, it was kind of, well, let's just put Daz up there, and let him just run around. And actually, the ball went over the top and actually got in between Paul Parker and the goalkeeper, and I managed to get my head there before the keeper got there, and it looped over the keeper. But unfortunately, Paul Parker was still in his stride, and he got back and cleared it before it obviously crossed the line, which would have been would have been immense, scoring at Old Trafford, especially in that occasion. But then obviously not only that, we would have come away 4-0 up, which would have made it even better.
The shirt have come off if you scored.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Well, I was ripped then.
Around. So at the end of your time at York, you decided to, I think you mentioned it earlier actually, you decided to hand in a transfer request. I know you touched on it a little bit, but what's kind of that process like exactly? How do you kind of hand a transfer request in?
It's it was difficult because obviously you're still a young lad, and this is your career, and in a sense I suppose you're taking a gamble, because I didn't know if anybody was interested in me as a player. There'd been no approaches, because obviously I was still contracted with York. So I took a chance. I took a risk in a sense. And it was weird because obviously, like I say, I fell out with the manager and fell out with the chairman, and I was kind of training on my own. So I was given like a bag of balls and some cones and sent down the far end of the training ground, to set up my own session really. Which I think lads will look at that and think, well, that's a bit harsh. Like, normally you would get sent with the reserves or the youth team, but I was just basically sent on my own. And I think that was based because, at that time, the first team and the reserve team trained together anyway. And the youth team, trained a little bit further away. So it wasn't like I could have gone and trained with anybody else. So, I used to set dribbling stuff up on my own and just generally do bits and pieces. And then, like I say, I was driving to York one day and I got a phone call. And I actually thought it was one of the guys from York messing about. So I've answered the call, and the guy on the other end said, "Hi, it's Paul Bracewell." And I went, "Oh yeah, right, that's okay. Stop taking the mick." And like, I put the phone down. I never thought nothing of it. And about 2 seconds later, my mum rang me. My mum said, "Daz, Paul Bracewell's going to ring you from Sunderland." I was like, "Oh, mum, I've just put the phone down on him. I thought it was one of the lads messing about." So fortunately enough, I rang the number back straight away, and Paul Bracewell answered the phone, and he said, "It's a good job I'm a patient guy, isn't it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm so sorry." I said, "I thought it was the guys taking the mick at York." And what the long and short of that, I ended up going up for a trial game, and I actually played alongside Peter Reid in the game, which was crazy. I was just like, wow, because I looked at the team on the board, and I could name all the other players, Niall Quinns and people like that, and Paul Stewart's, and I was like, yeah, I know all them, and it just had Reid next to me, and I was like, who's Reid? I was like, there's no Reid in this team. And then Peter Reid come in, and he just sat next to me, slapped me on the leg, and he went, "Right, son, you'll play next to me today." He went, "You do all my running." He went, "And then just give me the ball." and for, like I say, fortunately enough, I did that for him. And fortunately enough for me, I got offered obviously a contract the night after I went to watch Sunderland v Middlesbrough at Roker Park, which finished in a draw. And that night, there and then, I signed a 5-year deal.
So that's some midfield duo, that Williams and Reid. Not getting past them.
Well, it was not a chance.
So you signed for Sunderland, like you said, a massive club, probably even bigger back then, closer to home. What was that feeling like for you?
It was just surreal, to be quite honest, because I'm no disrespect to the guys at York, but I'm stepping out of a dressing room at York, and I'm stepping into a dressing room that I watch these guys on Match of the Day on a weekend. And I'm thinking, wow, that's great. And look at it, and then I'm sat next to these guys. And what? They were brilliant, to be fair. They took me in, obviously. Niall Quinn was fantastic. Kevin Ball was immense. You could go and approach Kevin at any time and ask him, for some advice and this, that, and the other. And, he'd be top drawer. And as all the players were, to be quite honest, they were all really good. But fortunately for me, I managed to blend in, quite quickly. And I think, obviously my fitness levels, etc., helped massively, in achieving that, because I was, I was ready and ready to go, really. Like I said, I put in all the hard work, waiting and waiting and waiting. And obviously the opportunity arose, and, and I got this opportunity. And this is, like I say, this is what we say with the lads, in the academies that we have, i2i. Keep your fitness up, keep working on, your weaker foot, keep working on your touch, keep working on your passing, I've taken some guys, there was the whites, there was some of the oranges, there was the golds, I've taken these guys back to Sunderland, where obviously, my career was, to watch games and to sample stuff. We've played against the Sunderland Academy, and we've got them in and around the environment, so they can, they can see that, and they can see the drive of the players and how hard they work and what they do. And all these opportunities that we give the guys is not only experience, but it's if they're ever in a situation like that, they know what to do, and they know how to handle it.
So with you being born in Middlesbrough, did you support Middlesbrough growing up as a kid?
I did. Yeah, I went to the games. Yeah, I did. I went as a youngster. I went to watch the games at Middlesbrough. Like I say, I was there. I was there for a while. Obviously in the academy, etc. But I went to Sunderland, and things changed. Although a lot of people didn't like me in Middlesbrough because I went to Sunderland. But but that's standard. We'll get to that one next. But things changed. I got taken in by Sunderland. I got, the fans welcomed me. The club welcomed me, and everyone was just unbelievable. And we say about the passion in the Northeast, and it is immense. It's absolutely immense. But when the fans get behind you, there's nothing better. And having experienced that at the Stadium of Light, where it's packed out, you're playing Chelsea, games like that, it's just unreal. And the hairs now stand up on the back of my neck because I'm thinking about it, and I can, take my mind back to those games and the volume and how passionate, the Northeast is for football.
So how did it feel when you scored that winner against them for Sunderland in '97, which effectively your boyhood club?
Yeah, I mean, I laugh about it, but it was my second goal. Yeah, I've been back quite a few times, but it was my second goal for Sunderland. My first one was away at Leicester. I managed to break. No, there weren't that many. So I managed to break away and I managed to score with my left foot, obviously my weaker foot. Which again, I say to the guys, keep working on, and the opportunity came where I had a left foot volley and I put it in the bottom corner, and that was for my first goal away. At Leicester was fantastic, but I'm then getting the opportunity to play against my hometown. It's close to my birthday. It's about two or 3 days away from my birthday. So, I'm buzzing, I'm ready for it. We worked all week on a system, on a formation. I was given the great opportunity of marking Janino. He was a fantastic player. And like I say, we worked tirelessly all week, and it was a massive game. We were struggling as a club. Middlesbrough was struggling as a club. In the relegation scenario, so it was a massive occasion. And the funniest thing is we turns up and we goes in the dressing room, and Bobby Saxon always writes a team up on the board that the Middlesbrough side. So as soon as he gets the team sheet, he'll write the team up, the formation, etc. So like I say, Peter Reid will then do his talking. So I'm sat there, and we're all sat there listening to Peter Reid, and then Peter Reid's like saying, right, we've worked on it all week. We know what we're doing. We know our jobs. Anybody got a question? So I puts my hand up, and Peter Reid looks at me. He really? He went, we've worked on it all week. What question could you possibly ask me? And this is no word of lie. I went, right. I went, Gaffer, I said, I'm not being funny. I said, I'm marking Janino, yeah? He went, yes. I went, right. I went, do you want me to sit next to him on the bench, or do you want me to just run around on the pitch? And he turned around, he looked at the board and realised Janino was on the bench. He was like, oh my God, he was just like that. And the weirdest thing is it gave me a kind of a free role. And I wouldn't generally normally be inside the box for set pieces. I would normally sit at the edge of the box. I had license just to get in the box. And fortunately enough, I made a run. I lost my marker, and I managed to, get across the keeper and head it in the top corner. And at that point, I'm not a regular goal scorer. I didn't know what to do. So I cut my ear.
Mental, didn't you? You went mental.
Yeah, I went mental. I went mental. I cut my ears, and I was like, because obviously they were all booing me at the start in the warm up, except so I cut my ears, and when I think back to it, it's probably the worst thing I could have ever done. But I just didn't know what to do. I was just running about all over the place. But again, we won the game 1-0. And it was a massive game for us. We needed the 3 points at the time, and it was a massive occasion. And then, let's say, 2 days later, I was celebrating my birthday. So, it went down really well.
Did you get plenty of stick from the Borough fans?
Yeah, I got plenty of stick. Yeah, I mean, obviously, bearing in mind my family lives in Middlesbrough, and the Middlesbrough fans, they didn't go down too well. I don't think they supported me for a while.
It was a good header, though. Good header.
Yeah, it was actually. Yeah, I had big long curtains then, though, so I had big long hair. So,
I'm not sure if you did or not, but did you come across Ingy at Sunderland when you were there?
Yeah, I was there. Michael was there for a while.
What
yeah,
was he like?
He's a great, just as mad as he is now. He's a great lad. Again, some lad, he was stuck at it and worked hard to get where he got. Obviously, I know he represented his country. And to do that, for him, at the time, he was over the moon, and we were all buzzing for him because he was, like I say, he was a great lad to have around the training ground, great lad to have in the dressing room. And I've been fortunate enough, like I say, to take the field with him, and I've also been fortunate enough to be along the coaching side with him now with i2i.
Yeah, similarly to Ingy, you also played at the iconic Wembley Stadium back in '98, I think it was. Before we touch on the game, just what was it like for you to walk out on that hallowed turf, the National Stadium, in front of 77,000 people?
Mate, I'm starting to shiver now. You've got me all shivery. So honestly, mate, it was crazy. It was mad because I remember the semi-final games against Sheffield United leading up to it. And the first game we didn't play particularly well at Bramall Lane, and we were disappointed in our performance there. But then 3 nights later we were playing at home, and approaching the Stadium of Light at the time, it was like a carnival atmosphere. It was one of those. It was one of those proper English nights of football where it's very hazy, it's low cloud, and we stepped onto the pitch at the Stadium of Light, and it just erupted, honestly. But we knew, and we had that slight confidence that we would get to the final. But when we got to the final, it was just unbelievable. I mean, you coming out that tunnel and the fans are absolutely mental. It was jam packed. You could not hear yourself, talk. It was that crazy. There was obviously fireworks going off. But the worst thing is we had this new gold kit on, and it was like wearing a suit of armor. I had inner lining as well, and at pitch side it was 100 odd degrees, and we were absolutely frying. And honestly, it was the thickest kit we could have wore that day, and we were absolutely roasting. But the atmosphere was just immense, mate. It was crazy, and I think a lot of people have said it. Probably one of the best finals for a neutral ever. To actually sit and watch, because it was just end to end.
So how did you deal with, I'm guessing you were nervous walking out, how did you deal with the nerves of playing in front of such a massive crowd for a massive game as well?
Yeah, I mean, it was one, because we had quite a few younger lads in the side, obviously including myself. So it was a massive experience for us, and that we needed to kind of take on board as quickly as we could and get over your nerves in it. And as much as you say you weren't nervous, you were nervous because we played all throughout the season, and unfortunately we kind of let ourselves down because we should have gone up automatic that year. But we had, we drew a couple of games against we drew a game against QPR, won that 2-2. And we let ourselves down with a couple of games that obviously knocked us out the automatic promotion. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to deal with. I think you've just got to kind of cut out the crowd. As much as it was that loud in there, you've got to try and cut out the crowd and concentrate on the game. And this is what I say to the guys. I said if you focus enough on the game, and on what you're doing in the game, or what you're doing as a team in the game. As daft as it sounds, 70,000 people in there, you can actually shut off for them. You know, as much as you've got the sound bit in the background, but it's more or less muffled in a sense because you're too concentrating on what your job is and what you're doing. You know, and that's what we try and get the lads to do, is focus as much as they can on their job, and then after they're doing their job well, then obviously then you can start, you know, not having to go at people, but start encouraging people, you know, and getting people alongside you. And that's a way you obviously you build as an individual and as well as a team.
Yeah, just looking at that game then, I mean, it really was absolutely crazy, wasn't it? I mean, you said it was one of the best finals ever, and I don't dispute that one bit. 4-4 after extra time, I mean, just crazy.
Yeah, it was honestly, I think either one of us could have gone 7-0 up and it would have finished 7-7. It was just going to be one of those games. It was bizarre. It was
was it just the defense, or is it nerves on both sides, or why was it so open?
Do you know? I think we were two teams that were you know, we went for games. You know, we went for the throat, and I think there was an odd mistake made by different people throughout the pitch, which obviously in the end ended up maybe he's conceding a goal or maybe he's conceding a corner, which obviously then would concede a goal. And I think it was minor little errors, but it was the fact that we were both just going for each other. And I think that's what made it such an exciting game, because it was end to end, and it was wholeheartedly played at 100 mile an hour, and we did it. But like I say, unfortunately, the outcome wasn't the outcome that obviously everybody wanted from a Sunderland point of view.
Yeah, so eventually went to a penalty shootout, the lottery that is penalties. I think it was Mickey Gray who missed the crucial penalty for yourselves. I think everyone scored up until Mickey steps up and missed. Where were you in order of the penalty takers? Were you up next?
Well, this is a funny question, funny thing actually, because I was supposed to take that penalty that Mickey Gray took, but Mickey Gray kind of said, "No, I'm feeling really confident," to Bobby Saxton. Because I'd said to Bobby, "I'll take it," and Bobby was like, "Right, okay." And Mickey said, "No, I'm feeling really confident. I'll take it." So obviously, then Mickey probably took priority with him being a bit more of a senior player. So then obviously I went down the pecking order to the next one. So but that was my penalty, and but unfortunately because of how it was put down, and whether it was Bobby Saxton or whether it was Mickey just wanting to take it, it was put down in a different order, and obviously I ended up, should have been after Mickey really.
It could have been so different then.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been. Yeah, it could have been me who was dyeing my hair. But no, I mean, you can't.
Do you wish you could have kind of changed that, or are you kind of glad?
I do because, I mean, for me, I think when I was obviously younger, when I was at the youth level, YTS level, academy level, we call it now. I took penalties week in, week out. So from my point of view, although I was a defender, I was still relatively confident about taking penalties. But like I say, I wish it was me in a sense. And I'm not saying I would definitely 100% would have scored it, because you just don't know. But I was confident enough to put myself forward for one.
Definitely would have scored. I definitely would have scored. How did you deal with the disappointment then? Were you kind of one that put your arm around the lads, or were you one that needed picking up?
It was no, I mean, it was a funny one because you kind of numb at the time. It's a bit like, you wait for it all to sink in. And I think, we looked around, and, as we were leaving the pitch after the ceremony of the trophy and that, we looked around, and basically you looked at the fans, and then you could see the fans' disappointment. But as much as they were disappointing, they were still very encouraging and very supportive. So we sat in the dressing room, and it was quiet for about, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. It was like time stood still, like somebody pushed pause or something. And then it took for Niall Quinn to stand up and just basically say, "Look, lads, we know what's happened. We know what we could have done, what we should have done. But when we take everything from this game into next season and all the experience we've had of this season," and his words were, "We'll go and walk the league next year." And it wasn't said in a cocky way or arrogant or it was just said in a confident way because we knew what we'd learned that season, and we knew that final had taught us a massive lesson. And obviously the next season, we did that. We went on to, to achieve, the highest point in the championship. And I think also as well, we weren't far off keeping as many clean sheets as some of the teams had in the championship for a long time.
Yeah, just looking at your Sunderland and Premier League career as a whole, was there any players that you were somewhat nervous to come up against in your career, or were you kind of not fazed by anyone really?
No, I mean, I was always given the job to kind of man mark, the kind of key players in teams. I've marked Gianfranco Zola, Thierry Henry, obviously Juninho at Middlesbrough, Ryan Giggs, the list of players who you've come up against, and when you look back on it, it's amazing. It is amazing. But I was given those tasks, and to be fair, I would say 99% of the time I stood up to those tasks and did my job. And I think that's why they had a lot of confidence in me. Playing in different positions and also obviously trying to utilize my skills and my abilities to the best, and obviously nullifying other players on the team.
Yeah, you mentioned Gianfranco Zola there and Thierry Henry. What was that like trying to man mark them? I mean, you said you 99% successful, but did you ever get the runaround, or were you always kind of, are they in your pocket?
I think the only guy who really gave me probably once he gave me the right runaround was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He was so clever. So clever, yeah. I mean, he wasn't. Don't get me wrong. He wasn't the fastest player. I've been up against. He probably wasn't the most technical player I've been up against, but he was so clever. He literally he would find a yard. He would find 5 yards. You couldn't take your eye from him for a second, and it was one of those where if you did, for a fact it was either going to end up in a goal or you were going to have a hell of a job to get back and try and get the ball off him. But no, I mean, I loved, I loved doing that. It was part and parcel of my game. But I also loved, the fact that when I was at Sunderland and I played centre half, basically, they give me they give us a role to play out, and get the ball and play out and allow us to express ourselves on the ball, which was great for us. You don't maybe see many centre halves stepping into the space or maybe he's taking on the centre forward and he's just outside of his own box and stuff. But they allowed us to do that. So long as we didn't lose the ball, that was the main thing. But yeah, we were given a bit of freedom to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember posting a clip onto i2i social media over a year ago now, and it was you getting quite friendly with a certain Frenchman, Patrick Vieira. What happened there?
Yeah, I mean, basically, obviously, I think it was close to the start of the season. It might be being the first game of the season, and we were winning 1-0. And I think I'd just come back from injury over the course of the close season. So I was on the bench. So Peter Reid obviously seen Arsenal was starting to get back on top of the game a little bit. So he gave me a shout and asked me to go on and obviously just try and get hold of Vieira and mark him and try and not take him out of the game because that sounds totally wrong, but just try and slow him down and stop him creating the stuff that he was creating. Really, we all know he's a great player. He's a fantastic player, and we obviously managed. We got in a bit of a tussle. The ball bounced between us and then broke for Vieira, and we were kind of scrapping away at each other. But then, unfortunately, he kind of swung his arm across my face. And caught me like right on the bridge of the nose, where just when your eyes water and you kind of. So obviously, I went down and not in a sense to get him sent off in any way, shape, or form, because that's not the type of player I am. I've been in situations myself, where players have gone down and stayed down, but I don't think it's any way in shape or form of trying to get you sent off. It was just the way he caught me was just a bit of a like where your head's spinning a little bit still. But unfortunately, got dismissed, which obviously Peter Reid was happy about because obviously they were down to 10 men. But in a sense, I kind of did my job, but not my job to go on and get him sent off, but obviously I did my job to kind of like get him frustrated and and take his side of the game away.
Yeah, I think Patrick should have picked on some of his own sides, because there's a massive difference between you two, aren't there?
Yeah, totally. I mean, you know what I mean? He shouldn't pick on Big Daz, should he, at the end of the day?
On that same note, then, was there a central midfielder that was just incredibly tough that you remember locking horns with in the Premier League? I know you mentioned Solskjaer, but in terms of midfielder, did you come across Roy Keane or anyone like that?
Yeah, I mean, I played up against Roy Keane at obviously at Old Trafford. He played in the centre of midfield with Paul Scholes at the time, but me and Claudio Reyna played in there. And Claudio Reyna, obviously, i2i American, great guy, fantastic guy, great feet, technical ability is unbelievable. And to be fair, we done extremely well that day. Although we did lose 2-1, but up against Keane and Scholes, myself and Claudio did extremely well. Manager said that after the game, the fans said that, outside the ground, etc. How well we'd done against obviously two great, international players, really. But I came up against Vinnie Jones in my first season at Sunderland, which was was a bit of a clash, because obviously at that point I did play centre midfield against him, and we clashed in the air a few times, we clashed on the floor, but I remember it was quite round about the middle of the game, and I remember it was a 50-50 tackle on the halfway line, and I wasn't one to shy out of tackles, as wasn't Vinnie Jones, but I managed to go in and win the ball, but managed to to get Vinnie as well a little bit at the same time, and weirdly enough, I was expecting him to jump up and have a go at me, but he stood up, grabbed me by the hand, and he went, "Brilliant tackle, that mate," and then just jogged off, and he was just. And for some guy like that who can be a hothead and can get in your face, I think he respected me the fact that I was a young lad and I didn't pull out the challenge with him. So probably, he is probably one of the toughest guys I've probably come up against.
Tell you what, you wouldn't get that nowadays, would you? There'd be a lot of rolling about.
No, we're just still being down for 3 weeks later.
Looking at the international picture, you managed to make a couple of appearances for the England under 21s, didn't you? I mean, what was that experience like?
Yeah, I mean, it was fantastic. I played against France, I played against Switzerland, I played for the B team against Russia. I mean, when we played France, it was at Derby's ground, and everybody was kind of going on about this guy, Thierry Henry. But obviously at this time he hadn't really come to the forefront of his Arsenal career, etc. So I don't really know much about him, to be quite honest. I watched a few videos when we were down at England training camp, and we managed to beat them that day 2-1. And I felt quite comfortable playing up against him. But then a few years later, I played against him at Arsenal, and he's a completely different player. Arsene Wenger had brought him on leaps and bounds. And he was immense, and it was a lot tougher challenge 2 or 3 years later than it was obviously when I initially played against him for the 21s. But like I say, great player. But I think when in the B team, when we played Russia at Loftus Road at QPR, we had Matt Le Tissier played. Your Les Ferdinand, Ian Walker, Jamie Redknapp, Frank Lampard. And Le Tissier absolutely ran the show. I don't even think he broke sweat. The guy, I literally don't. He scored 3 goals. And I don't think he broke sweat. I've got the jersey signed from that game. It was like we played in the red jersey, and I've got it signed with obviously Ferdinand and Le Tissier and all that. And when I see it in the wardrobe, I just think back to the fact that Matt Le Tissier didn't actually break sweat in that game, and he scored 3 goals. It was just amazing, but we managed to win 3-0, and he scored 3 without even breaking sweat. It was just crazy. But what a fantastic talent he was.
Were you kind of overawed going to train and play with England and some of them names, or were you a sense that you're just one of them guys that just gets on with it?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, I just get on with it. For me, I always say, I've been a footballer. So I played in the Premier League. Yeah, and I've played in every division in England, to be quite honest. And obviously, I've represented the country at 21s and B level. Because some people say, "Oh, yeah, but you did this, you did that." Yeah, but I'm just a normal person. I'm just a person who was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to play, football as a career. You're no different to anybody else. I've been on the plane, sat in front of the likes of David Beckham, going on England duty. And it's just, yeah, these guys are, immense. But I think they would be the same. You just, you're a guy who's, you're an icon to some people or the fans, etc. Or young lads might look up to you, but you're just a guy who's had a great opportunity of doing what he wanted to do, in life.
When your time at Sunderland was coming to an end, I know you went out on loan initially. Was it tough to take, seeing as you were there for 8 or so seasons?
Yeah, I mean, I was just shy of 9 seasons, and it was frustrating because we hit financial difficulty. There was a lot of staff losing their jobs. We'd taken a week's salary and for 12 months put aside, so the club obviously financially could try and stabilise themselves. Although we did get that money back in the end, but it was a thing that we did to try and stabilise the club as much as we could. And it was disappointing in the end to have to go, because I wanted to stay. I approached Mick McCarthy and I said, I'm happy to take a pay cut to stay. Because I don't really want to leave. I'm happy, I'm settled. But unfortunately, the decision was made that I needed to go. Although, like I said, I was never on mega money, but I was happy to take a pay cut to stay because like I told you, I'd been taken in. I'd been taken in by Sunderland, the fans, etc. And it felt so comfortable for me, and it just felt so right. But unfortunately, like I say, I had to go to Cardiff, and there was a few things along the way that got messed up for me by a certain agent type person, but obviously we won't go into that. But I wish in the long and the short that they to give me the opportunity to stay on less money, because like I say, I didn't really want to leave, and that's no disrespect to where I've been, because everywhere I've been, I've given my all, and I've appreciated everything, and I always appreciate the fans, week in, week out, regardless of whether we win, lose, or draw. I've always been a player who stands in the dressing room and says, "Don't be coming in and whinging if we've got beat and you're getting booed." Do you know what I mean? Because you won't be whinging next week when we win and we're getting cheered. Do you know what I mean? So I've always been that way, and I think you've got to take the rough with the smooth. And I think when players understand that and see that and realise that, I think you become a better player yourself.
Yeah, you went on to have spells also at Hartlepool and Bradford. Were you adapting your game at this point in your career then?
Yeah, I was. It's different. You've got different levels. Unfortunately in football and different styles. Different. You're under different management. You treat differently at times. So yeah, you're adapting. And it's weird. But it's weird when you're kind of coming out, because when you come out, you can come out really quickly, or you can kind of linger for a while and play at certain levels. But there was points in the in my career where I felt I'm losing the love for football a little bit, but not in a bad way. But I just felt I'm happy, am I losing the love of football, and I think that probably hit more home when I went to Dundee, up in Scotland. I was away like all week. I was trying to get home on a weekend, obviously to see my kids and that, because on the strength of the contract I had, it wasn't really worthwhile getting anywhere up there that would to move the family, because the kids were in school, they were all settled, and I didn't want to disrupt them. And weirdly enough, I had a 2-year contract, and I did a year, and then I cancelled the last year and came home because I wasn't settled, and I thought, I'm not settled, and I'm not giving my everything, and me as a person and me as a player, I've got to be happy and be giving my all. Otherwise, I'm letting people down, and I don't want to do that.
Once you retired from playing professionally, you tried your hand at management. Just how tough of a job is managing, regardless of what level that is?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough job. It is a tough job, but for me, I think part-time football management is, and I can only speak from what I've heard, and because obviously I haven't been in full-time, I haven't been to a full-time club and managed the club at that level, so I don't know, but I can only go off what I've heard. Part-time is harder. Yeah, your job is not part-time. As a manager, I went through a spell of having to ring people's works and get them off work to come and play. I was having to allow lads to drive down in cars after work, and because they wouldn't make the bus time pickup, and because they didn't finish on time, and it's a tough job because you're constantly on the phone. You know, but when I first took over Whitby, we were 13 points adrift in the league, and we were rock bottom. And it was, the chairman actually said to me, "Oh, we'll plan for the Northern League next year." And I was like, "I've not been in the job 24 hours yet, and you're telling me we're going down?" I said, "You just give me the opportunity and give me the chance. Don't speak any of this in the press. Don't say anything to it, of this, because it has a negative effect on the lads." So I said, give me the responsibility. I said, I'll shoulder it. And I did say, I will get us out of this. We will get out of it, because I was quietly confident, because I'd been playing at that level as well, so I knew the level, and I knew obviously players. And we managed to go 16 games unbeaten, and obviously survive that season. And then obviously we went on to progress each year after that. But then unfortunately, again, with the situation of obviously finances, etc., we couldn't then match the likes of Darlington and Spennymoor, their money that they were handing to players. So I lost a lot of my players, to the likes of Darlington and Spennymoor and teams like that, because of financial reasons.
So moving on to your role here at the i2i Soccer Academy now. For those that aren't aware, you are one of our lead coaches at Northumbria campus in Newcastle. How much do you enjoy working with our student athletes up there?
It's fantastic. I mean, even through difficult times that we've had, it's fantastic. Since I've started, even in York, I love the time there, working with the guys. Obviously, this opportunity came up at Newcastle, which is, closer to home for me, and it makes a bit more sense. As much as I do miss York, I miss all the guys down there, because, it was such a great atmosphere, not only with the i2i student athletes, but the coaching staff, even the staff in and around the facilities. We used to have some great laughs, great times, enjoyable times. But we're creating that up here now. We're getting that sense of what it is, what it's like down in York. How the program's grown and keeps growing. And the guys are great. The guys are fantastic. They've got a great attitude. No matter what time you put training on, they'll be there. They want to keep training and training and training. And we obviously, as ex-coaches, ex-players, we want to we're trying to give them all the experience that we've had. And we even try and say to them, "You need to rest. You need to rest. You need to rest." And they're like, "No, we just need to go and train." And it's just like, no, it's like, we treat it as a professional academy. And this is what we're trying to get across to the guys. If you play on a Tuesday night, on a Wednesday is your cool down day. It's either a cool down day or it's a rest day. And that's how it will be done at a pro club. And we're trying to give you all these things of how it is at a pro club, because it, like we've had in the i2i Academy, we've had guys go professional. But if we keep the program professional and as professional as we can, then these guys know that if they get the opportunity to go on and become a professional, then if they play on a Tuesday night, they'll be having a cool down or a rest day on the Wednesday. So they're already in that mindset, and they already know how it works. But the guys are so enthusiastic, and they want to do, they want to learn, they want to, everything. They've got questions, day in, day out, which we're happy to answer, because, I'd sooner have that than there's somebody turn up really quiet and not say anything. And we've seen lads who've turned up who were really quiet, but you give them a month or so down the line, and we bring them out the shell, and they're starting to mingle, and they're starting to enjoy things, and and we're trying to give them all the life's experiences possible, and make this not only from an educational point of view as well. They're going to get a fantastic degree, an opportunity to go and play against professional teams, semi-pro teams, an opportunity to maybe make a career in football, and if not, maybe make a career in coaching in football. And if we give them all these opportunities, but we want to make everything that we do, as enjoyable as possible for them.
Yeah, and you had a very competitive first year, didn't you, with some excellent performances last year?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I mean, the guys, really good. I think at first we struggled a little bit, and I think we sat down and we watched the games, with the match analysis and stuff, and we asked the players questions, and we wanted feedback from them to see what they had learned from the game, and to see what they thought of it. And I think the biggest part was the physicality side of the game. We struggled a little bit with, but then we've got the S&C sessions going on. And once the guys got into the S&C sessions, once the guys got into the training day in, day out, the games week in, week out, they started to deliver on that side of things. They started to compete, and some of the games were fantastic. There was, it was a bit like the playoff finals. There was goals galore going in. It was just mental, but they loved it. And even if they lost 3-2 or 4-2. But they had a fighting spirit and the battle back into the game, and they still come off with a smile on their face because they knew they'd done everything possible. But just unfortunately, on that night, it wasn't their night.
Yeah, and it certainly helps when you've got a prolific goal scorer like Brian Miller, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I mean, I call him Super Kev because I know he goes on about Kev Phillips, but yeah, I mean, he's great. He's a great lad. He's a guy that you can look at as a, even if he played in the same team as me, I can look at him and think he gives his all. He gives us everything. He works hard. I think what we're trying to do now is slowing down a little bit and try and keep him in areas that he's going to be more prolific in. And we're working with him, and to be fair, he's taking everything on board. But it's not only that. I think what we're starting to create now up at Northumbria is that team bonding, is that togetherness, and all the guys are getting on really, really well, and you can see the difference in the games. And weirdly enough, if you get a team that's together and that's bonded really well, it shows on the pitch. And we're starting to see that now, and it's developing the players in a much better way.
So for any prospective i2i athletes that may be listening to this that are thinking about joining our programme, you'd say come to Northumbria?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like I say, we are creating this environment now, and and that's not taken away from York, because obviously, it's fantastic down there, but we're creating such a good environment. The guys are together. We try and do as much as we can. As a team. As two teams. Really thinking of ideas and different ideas. We do competitions. On WhatsApp. So we'll stick a competition on so everyone's involved. We've had the goal team down to the beach last year, where we went on a cool down. They went in the sea. As much as the UK and it was freezing at the time. They went in the sea. And it was all good. It was all good fun, and and like I say, we take them to games, Sunderland games, etc., and get them to experience that side of things.
And just finally, Daz, we'll end on some exciting news. Our brand new female programme is going to be launching this year at Northumbria. How big is this going to be for the programme?
I think it's really going to be massive, to be quite honest. I mean, having my time in the States when I've been over with i2i, and we put on obviously our camps that we do, our ID clinics, and speaking to parents at the competitions, that we've been to watch the lads, and and kind of pinpoint who would fit well in with the academy, etc. A lot of parents have said to me, do you do a girls program? And unfortunately, at the time, we didn't. So it's obviously something that we've discussed over the last year or so, as a company. And basically, we're now rolling that out. And obviously, Northumbria is renowned for one of the best, female football sides, teams, squads, that have been in the last so many years in university football. So it's a fantastic opportunity for. And I know obviously we've got a few girls over at the moment, that we've had previously, who are now playing for the likes of Gateshead and Newcastle, etc.
So Daz, I think that'll just about do it for today's episode. Again, Daz, thank you very much for joining us on the i2i podcast. I hope you enjoyed it.
No problem, mate. Yeah, loved it, mate. Anytime.
And we'll see you next time.